Hi, my little babies. Welcome back to another episode of What the Smut Book Review. Welcome back to another episode of What the Smut Book Review. You know, the name's on the fucking channel. You can read it. Hi, it's me, your host and perpetual fuck up friend, Candace. Hi. I say fuck up friend because this is not the first time, the second time I'm filming this review. Yes, the second time. Full face of makeup? Sure. I mean, to my limited capabilities, because Manny MUA, I am not. Like putting on the same shirt, making sure that I match my thumbnail, which I didn't lose. The thumbnail I didn't lose. The video I lost. So, funny story that we'll try and keep brief. When I say funny, I don't mean funny haha, I mean funny, I want to hang myself. So not really funny. I sat down and filmed this review, put on makeup, did my hair, sat down, like actually built up the will to live for an hour. An hour I sat in front of this camera. Because you know me, I don't do short reviews. Candace. This is me we're talking about. An hour I sat in front of this camera to film this review. I hook it up to my computer to transfer the file. My iTunes does some kind of weird update bullshit. The file is deleted. Can't be recovered. What? Sorry, what? What you mean? What you mean you can't find the file? Call my husband. Excuse me. Hi, Richard. I need help. He hooks it up. Yeah, it's not here. I can't find it. Richard, you're supposed to be like a super genius, computer genius person. I rely on you for these things. Why can't you find the file? Well, I don't know. It's just not here. It's not good enough. So, here we are, kids. Take 2 of Candace trying to remember what the fuck she said in take 1. We're going to do our best. We'll see what happens. I'm going to try my best not to even reference my notes because I feel like I might do better and make for a shorter review if I don't look at my notes at all. Why? Because I forget half the plot that way? Sure, probably, yeah. But we're going to go with it. You know why? Because I don't want to be in here for 12 hours. Anyways, let's move on. Hi, my name is Candace. Welcome to What Smut Book Reviews. In case you haven't figured it out by now, we review romance novels here. You probably didn't know the romance bit, but yes, that's what we do here. All things smut. All the time. All the time. In this case, we're taking it dark. Okay? We're going dark. Sorry. I had to go to the gym before picking up this so I could like prepare myself to lift this because it's literally like a fucking brick. Ain't a brick house. Ain't the one, the only one, feeling like an Amazon. Okay, so here we go. In today's video, we will be reviewing book 2 in H.D. Carlton's cat and mouse duet. It's called Hunting Adeline. Not to be confused with Haunting Adeline, which a lot of people fuck up. Which is easily done because Haunting Adeline. Hunting Adeline. I mean, I get the why you did it, but you fucked us up. You fucked us all up with that. So, in today's video, we will be reviewing this book for the second time. Now, look at this. Look at it. It's fucking huge. And I'm meant to remember. You want me, of all people, to remember everything that happened in this book? Come on now. Anyway, we're going to review this. We're gonna review this book to the best of my ability. I'm gonna have to pull up the deets on my phone for the book because I'm an idiot and I didn't write them down for the second time. This exact scenario happened in the first time I recorded, and I'm doing it again now because I didn't prepare myself by rectifying it in preparation for this one. Are you surprised? I mean, honestly, are you surprised? Don't be surprised. Okay, now, let's talk about the deets for this book. Actually, before we even get into that, trigger warning. Trigger warning. This book, as well as its predecessor, Part 1, Haunting Adeline, has a lot of triggers in it. If you are a person who is easily triggered by sexual assault, I don't know, child sacrifice, anything like that, don't read these books. If you're going to anyway, if you're not going to listen to me and you're going to do it anyway, at least know that that's in here. It is in here. Especially the sexual assault part. There's a lot of that, especially in book 2. Book 1, not so much. Well, no. Well, I had to sit back and go, Daddy's aid. And I say daddy ironically because I hate that. But Zaid in book 1 is, he literally pushes the boundaries of consent. He pushes it. But in this book, I will warn you ahead of time that there is a lot of sexual assault. Now, another thing I will warn you about is that my reviews, this one, just like all my reviews, contain massive spoilers. I literally tell you every plot point of the book. So if you want to read this book without being spoiled on anything, click off because you don't want to be here. You don't want to be on this channel. I mean, I need views, but I'm not going to make you. If you know what I'm saying? Okay. So check the author's website. There's also a note, an author note in the front of this book. And that's another thing. Here we go. I did it in book 1. I'm going to do it now because I'm going to go on a tangent. Are you ready? Are you ready for my tangent? Tangent number 1 of what will probably be a dozen. Author note. There's an important note at the beginning of this book. I'm going to read it. As some of you may know, the first book in this duet, Haunting Adeline, was banned due to the warnings, but it is so necessary to have one. These are also available on my website. This book contains very dark, triggering situations such as graphic rape. These scenes are detailed, so please proceed with caution. There is also graphic violence and gore, torture, sexual assault, kidnapping, psychological abuse, physical abuse, mental abuse, illicit sexual situations, human trafficking, slave trade, grooming, severe PTSD, and very particular kinks such as blood play, knife play, degradation, and somnophilia. This book is significantly darker than the first. Please take these warnings seriously. Your mental health matters. Okay. I love this. I love that this is here. I love that this is in the physical book and the digital book. Okay. Now, that being said, here are my complaints. And this is not just geared towards H.D. Carlton. This is geared towards romance novelists as a whole. Okay. Here's my complaint. As a person who absorbs the majority of their reading via audiobook, I can't stress the importance of the need for authors to normalize having their narrators read that note or list of trigger warnings at the beginning of their audiobooks. Because most of them don't. It's great that you put it in your physical book. It's great that you put it in your digital download. However, also, I will point out that a lot of times when you open a Kindle book, it automatically reverts to the first page of the book and bypasses every other page before it. It automatically opens to chapter 1. That happens a lot. It will bypass the author note, the acknowledgments, the table of contents, the cover itself. It will bypass all of that. So sometimes if you are not savvy and you don't know what the fuck it is you're doing, and you're not actively going to look for it and scroll back, even in the digital download, you would miss that note. I do appreciate that it's there though. However, it needs to be in the audiobook. You have many, many readers out there who obtain your books and absorb your books via audio only. They don't read physical books. They don't do digital download. They only do audio. And if I was to go in and I was to buy this audiobook, and it could be this book, it could be, I don't know, a J.T. Geisinger Mafia book. It could be whoever. And I was to go in and I was to start listening to the audiobook. And I had a big issue with this when it came to, what the fuck was it? That first book in Rena Kent's latest series, God of Malice or whatever it was. I had a big issue with that. They start listening. The narrator says what they need to say about, oh, this is presented by blah, 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 copyright by blah, 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 blah. Oh, it's important enough to put the fucking copyright in there, but it's not important enough for you to read the fucking trigger warnings? Okay. Then they just start in on chapter 1. And as an audiobook listener, I'm just sitting there minding my own fucking business, and out of the blue, somebody's getting raped. And all of a sudden, I'm triggered. So, while I want to stress this, again, I'm not harping at H.D. Carlton, because I love the way she wrote that author note. But it needs to be normalized that authors make their audiobook narrators read that at the beginning of their audiobooks, because the majority of them do not. and it's a serious fucking problem. Okay? End tangent. Let's move on. So, let's get down to the deets of the book, shall we? All right. So, this book, as well as its predecessor, are free to read with Kindle Unlimited. If you would like to purchase this book for your Kindle, you can do so for the price of $4.99. If you want to hold this brick house that I'm currently holding, you can get it for the price of $17.09. This book is also available in hardcover. Now, remember, this is a printed hardcover from Amazon, which means that the image will be printed on the actual cover of the book. It will not come with a dust jacket. You can get that hardcover for the price of $24.99. In addition to that, this book is also available in audio. The audio, again, as I previously stated, I listened to. I listened to the audio for books 1 and 2, and both are narrated by Michelle Sparks and Teddy Hamilton. If you are an audiobook listener like me, you will recognize, obviously, Michelle Sparks narrated several books for J.T. Geisinger's Queens and Monsters series. Let's see. Teddy Hamilton, I'm trying to think. I can't really off the top of my head remember what the hell he's narrated, but I recognize his voice immediately. He has a very distinctive voice, and his portrayal of Zaid was spot on. His voice is so hot. His voice is so hot. Now, that being said, he does sound aggro all the time. Super aggressive. But, you know, when you have a stalker who's really like a good guy trying to, well, he's not a good guy. He's a bad guy. He's a good guy who's a bad guy. Who's trying to take down a child sacrificing murder cult. You want someone who has a little bit of gumption in their voice, don't you? Well, he does. He does. So yeah. Now, let's read the blurb really quick, and then we'll break it down as quickly as we can, because I'm already 20 minutes in. This is a fucking shit show. So, if you'll recall, in the first book, the chapters had chapter headings, each one from the POV of either the main female character or the main male character. So you either had from Addie's point of view or from Zaid's point of view, but they weren't called Addie or Zaid. They were called the Manipulator, which was Addie, and then what the hell was Zaid's? What was Zaid's little moniker? I forget in the first book. I'm gonna have to go back and look again. Oh my God. I don't remember, and it doesn't. Oh, the Shadow. Okay, so his chapter headings had just the Shadow written. She has done something similar in book 2, but the names are changed. So in this book, Addie is referred to as the Diamond, and Zaid is referred to as the Hunter, obviously, because he's going after Addie. If you'll recall, at the end of book 1, Addie had been lured out of her house by fake text messages from Daya, which we now know were fake. She was then run off of the road by another car, and her car flipped several times. She was all fucked up, all banged up. And then, on the other hand, Zaid, who had infiltrated the cult and was going to his first initiation, turned out it was a trap. And he was introduced face to face with the person who had set up everything, right? Who was the face behind the mask of the leader, right? The leader of the secret society, okay? So that's what happened at the end of book 1. So book 2 begins exactly where book 1 left off. Addie has been pulled from the vehicle by two men, not gently. She's been scraped over glass, so her back is all fucked up. She's bleeding all over the place. She's semi-conscious. She's been pulled out of the car by two men who were hired by dickhead Max. If you remember Max, do you remember Max? What the fuck was his name? The guy who was friends with the dude whose hands they delivered to Addie's doorstep. I forget that guy's name. He's inconsequential. If you really want to know, you can go back and watch my first review for book one. But Archibald, that's who it is. Archie? Is that his name? I can't remember. Anyway, his friend Max, who obviously didn't get the memo that he should stay the fuck away from her, saw an ad online basically saying on like the dark web, whatever, the dark web, saying that Addie was basically like top tier, most wanted. Go get her. You'll get cha-ching. You'll get paid, right? So he hires these two guys to do that. Little does he know, she's not being delivered to him. She's being delivered somewhere else. So while that's happening, Zaid, on the other hand, has come face to face with the man behind the mask, who's really not a man at all. He's a woman. And it turns out to be the senator's wife. If you'll remember the senator from book one, his wife Claire, the meek little mousy one who was being domestically abused, or it appeared that way, that she was being domestic violenced, right? No. She's the bad guy who's causing all of this. She's the head of the organization. So she has cops in her pocket, senators in her pocket, politicians, everything. They all work for her. So now Zaid has come face to face with her. His men are storming the building, getting ready to try and get him out. But him and Jay, his little earpiece man, have been taken and thrown into the back of a van. They're getting like kidnapped, basically. However, what Claire doesn't know is that Zaid's intercom thing is still working. During the explosion that caused all hell to break loose, it blew out Jay's. But I can't remember if it's Jay's. One of their intercoms are still working. I can't remember which one. But so they still have a line to their people, and they give them the location of where they're going, and they get rescued. The van gets ambushed. The people driving the van get killed. Zaid and Jay are fine. They're fine. That's when he finds out that Addie's been taken, and all hell breaks loose there. And he's a wreck, okay? When he finds out about Max, he hunts him down. He gets the information out of him about what happened, and subsequently the information that Max's friend Luke, whom Daya dated a little bit in the first book, who apparently has like a weird obsession with her, has taken Daya and is holding her prisoner inside his house. So Zaid, who's going out of his mind because he cannot locate Addie, thinks, okay, well, the next best thing, if I can't save my girl, I'll go get her best friend and at least make sure she's safe. So he goes and he gets Daya, allows Daya to kill Luke and have her little revenge, and then takes her back home. which was nice of him, right? While all that's going on, Addie gets taken to a doctor, one of those back alley shystery type doctors, and patched up by the two men who took her out of the van. One of them, I forget his name, but he's inconsequential. The other one, his name is Rio. And Rio works for this chick named Francesca. While they're at the doctor's office, the doctor himself turns out to be a legit skeeve. He tries to, in the middle of the night, take Addie from the doctor's office. He's like, I want you, I'm going to take you. And he tries to get her to go with him voluntarily. She senses danger, like you might be the worst of two evils here. No, I'm not going anywhere with you. And in the midst of him trying to coax her out or drug her out, whichever happens first, or whichever happens to be necessary, he gets caught by Rio, and Rio blows his brains out all over Addie. She's traumatized. She has to take a shower, change her clothes, etc., etc. What they don't know is that all of this is being caught on film. Film that Zayd will later find and see, and which will cause him more rage. But we'll get to that in a minute. So, after they leave the doctor, Rio and his buddy take her to Francesca. Francesca and her brother Rocco own like this boarding house for women, except it's not really a boarding house, it's like a grooming house. And they're basically grooming them to be sold at auction into sex trafficking, into the sex slave trade. They teach them how to behave. They teach them etiquette. They teach them how to give a good blowjob. They teach everything. Okay. They're cruel with their punishments. They routinely rape the girls. Now, here's where the triggers come in, as if the stuff that happened before wasn't triggering enough. It's at this point where Addie finds out the hard way that her mouth will get her into big trouble, because something happens that causes Francesca's brother to sexually assault her, to teach her a lesson. And he does, like literally right there. Bam. Bam. And I was like, shit, all right, she just went for it, like beginning of the book. Oh, damn, right there. But that's just like literally the tip of the iceberg. Over the course of 3 months, because yes, she does stay missing for that long, a lot of bad shit happens to Addie. They have like this antiquated ritual at the grooming house called the culling, which is Francesca and Rocco's way of weeding out the weak women who wouldn't survive the lives they're going to lead with these men. And what they do is they basically invite all of the rich men who will eventually bid on these women over to this boarding house. And because the boarding house is located out in the middle of nowhere, and they release the women out into the wild of the back, like the backyard, basically like the woods. And they say, run. and then they hunt them down with crossbows. If you get shot, you get punished. Your punishment is severe, like amputation of a limb type severe. If you get killed, you get killed, whatever. Obviously, you want to survive because you just want to survive. But if you survive, then it means you're strong enough to go to auction. So you're one step closer to your eventual hellish fate. Win-win. So halfway through her period of being in this house, or towards the end of her being in the house, she has to go through this culling. She makes it through. There's one man there in particular named Xavier who takes a liking to her from the jump. And he is a sick fuck. He likes to cut his women. And Francesca, Addie has been given the moniker of the diamond because she's literally the most valuable girl Francesca's ever had. Because of who she is, because of who she's important to. Because everyone knows by now, this is Zayd's woman. They don't know his name is Zayd. This is Z's woman. So she's going to fetch me a ridiculous amount of money. So she thinks that she's going up to auction like everyone else. After she survives the culling, Francesca allows Xavier, who has basically already bought and paid for Addie, or like low-key paid for Addie, to visit her once a week to essentially sexually assault her. And regular assault her, because during sex, he slices her up. So during this period of time, she goes through a lot of, she changes a good bit, her personality. She dissociates a lot. She loses a lot of that fire that she had in the first book, in terms of like her sass, her attitude, her mouth, where she would normally mouth off to people. She still does it from time to time in her inner monologue, but she won't dare speak it out loud, obviously, because she knows she'll get fucked up. So as she reaches the period of time where it's coming up when she thinks that she's getting ready to get auctioned off, come to find out, she's not getting auctioned off. She doesn't know that Xavier has already paid for her, and that it's been basically like a private payment type situation, and that she's going to be basically moved from one location to another, cover of darkness, bag over your head, straight from one place to another. No visible cameras, nothing. So, because they know that Zayd is looking for her. And they know this because while all of this is happening, during the 3-month time that she's stuck in this house, being literally, mentally, emotionally, and physically tortured, Zayd is losing his shit. He's working with Jay to try and find Addie. He's not only with Jay, but also with Daya now, to try and find Addie. They track down the doctor's office, the doctor who's now dead. They find his rotting corpse. They don't know what the fuck happened, but they find evidence that Addie was there. Then they find the video. Jay finds the video of her covered in blood, basically having to take a shower and all of this, and that which just angers him more. And Zayd eventually, like, as he leaves, he burns the entire building to the ground to send a message. So they know that he's looking and that he's coming for them. After he leaves the doctor's office, because while he was reviewing the video footage of the doctor's office, because it turned out the doctor, the skeevy doctor, not only wanted to take Addie, but prior to trying to abduct Addie, he had the camera set up in his office so that he could record himself while he sexually assaulted his patients while they were under anesthesia. As Zayd is reviewing the footage, he comes across footage of a man bringing in a little girl who's been shot. And something about it just it strikes him as very weird. And he has Jay track down the guy. The guy turns out to be one of a handful of men who run like an underground or like a black market organ selling operation. And he demands a meeting with them, which they eventually agree to. He goes there and he tells them, listen, I know you guys have resources. I know you live and breathe this black market underground life because this is where you do business. This is where you get all your clientele from. Now, outward appearances, they look like bad guys. They seem like bad guys. What they're doing is bad. Realistically, they're not bad. I mean, there's one that keeps a woman like on a leash, like a half-naked woman. When Zayd shows up to talk to them, she's like kneeled at his feet on a leash and he's sitting on the couch like, and I was just like, what's up with you, boy? Got my eye on you, boy. Realistically, what they do is they take organs from bad people, recently deceased people who doctors in hospitals will call them and say they have fresh organs from people who were not labeled as donors, but whose organs would go to waste otherwise. And they give them the organs and they pay for them. And they give the appearance that they've killed people for those organs. Like that's their rep. And then they in turn give those organs to people who can't afford the transplants or who can't get their name on the transplant list, or et cetera, et cetera. So you see what I'm saying? Like they're not really, really bad guys. So he goes to them and he says, I know you are literally neck deep in this world. If anyone can help me find, like you run in the same circles as Claire and these people, you have your ear to the ground. What can you find? Help me find my girl and I will owe you. And I owe you for you to cash in for whatever, whenever. And they agree. And together, they locate the boarding house right around the time that Addie finds out that she's not getting sold at auction, that she's getting sold directly to Xavier. She finds this out by Francesca calling her downstairs in a flurry. She's in a rush. The boss is coming. Somebody wants to meet with you. Come downstairs. Make yourself presentable and come downstairs. Okay. Now, during her 3-month time at the house, she has become rather close to Rio. Rio is one of the original 2 men who took her from the car and fucked her back all up. After she got into the house, he has basically taken care of her. After every time something bad has happened to her, after every time she's been punished or abused or whipped or whatever the case may be, he has tended to her wounds or taking care of her. And come to find out, Rio is not necessarily there of his own volition. Rio has a 15-year-old sister who was sold to another groomer. And he was told that if he did not do everything that Francesca wanted him to do, that his sister would be put up to auction. And so he's basically there under duress and does everything that Francesca makes him do. So on the one hand, Addie hates him because he's the reason that she's here and in this mess. And on the other hand, she understands why he's doing what he's doing. But she goes downstairs when Francesca calls her and comes face to face with Claire. And she's shocked because this is the first time seeing her since the night that her and Zaid went to that party in book 1 at the senator's house. Since the first time she met Claire. And she recognizes her. And she's like, you're the one that's behind all of this? And Claire's just like, girl, yes, me. Okay. So Claire literally tells her, you're not like all the other girls. You're the most important thing I've ever sold. And so you won't be auctioned off and transported like all the other women. You've already been sold to Xavier, and he's gonna be coming to pick you up. You're gonna be taking a plane to wherever it is that he's his own private island, heavily guarded island, and you're never going to be seen or heard from again. So she knows that it's now or never. During the culling, and when she was running through the woods, she stumbled across an abandoned train car, like cargo trains, and she thought to herself at the time, when or if I'm ever able to make an escape, I can come here. I'm going to try and find this again so that I can hide. It may be a decent place for me to hide, which is exactly what she does. She waits until the whole house is asleep, and then she makes her escape. In the midst of her escape, in the middle of the night, something happens, and Rio ends up being the one that saves her and helps get her out of the house. He knows that she'll never make it past the guards that are outside. So he goes out and he kills the guards that are out there. And it allows her to make a clean getaway into the woods. Now, after that, he has to disappear. But he asks her, please, if you actually truly do escape, when you're found, please have your boyfriend, your man, go after my sister and get her out. Because after I do this for you, she's going to be fair game they're gonna take her. And she promises that she will. And then she runs. And she runs through the woods. She finds the train and she gets inside and she hides. And there's, after that, a full-blown search party looking for her. It's around this same time that Zaid and the organ stealer guys have located the farmhouse, the boarding house, and they have gone out to look for Addie. Zaid and Daya have gone out to look for Addie. And they have stumbled upon the train. And Zaid, after killing at least one person, he ends up finding Addie in the train car and pulling her out. And it's a very emotional moment. And she basically like throws herself into his arms and, you know, cries and all of that, what you would expect to happen. And then after that, he takes her home back to Parsons Manor, that's now ridiculously guarded with men, Zay's men. And Addie begins her process of trying to recover and trying to reacclimate to life. It's very difficult for her. She, after that first interaction with Zaid, when he finds her in the boxcar and she throws herself at him, following that, she doesn't want to be touched by him at all. She finds it very traumatic to be, she has PTSD. She doesn't want to be touched by anyone. Now this is one of the parts that I thought was very I liked it a lot. I liked the way that the author handled the writing of Zaid's character during this period of the book, because she could have stuck with his characteristics in the first book, which were very non-con, or borderline non-con, or whatever you want to call it. In the first book, he didn't take no for an answer. In this book, when she doesn't want him to touch her, he doesn't touch her. And I liked that, because she could have written it the way that, you know, he forces himself on her, and in the midst of doing that, she's magically snaps out of it and she's in love with him again. Like, no, obviously she's still in love with him, but you know what I mean. But that's not the way she wrote it. She wrote it in a way that he understood that forcing her now would be different from the forceful way that he took her in the first book. And I really appreciated that. So he literally takes his time with her, and he spends every day with her. He basically moves into Parsons Manor and lives with her. And Daya is there all the time, like round the clock. And she sees a therapist and her parents. Other than that, she does not venture out into the world. She's terrified. So it's a very long process of getting her to be okay with doing simple tasks like driving herself around to places, or you know, going to Daya's house or whatever. And eventually she does, with the help of Zaid, obviously. And he helps her a lot. He helps her take back her power, both sexually and emotionally. At one point, they do find Francesca, Rocco, and Xavier. They round them up, and Zaid basically hosts his own version of the culling, where they get to go out and hunt them on the land of Parsons Manor. And eventually they end up killing the 3 of them. And that obviously helps Addie a lot with her trauma. And she begins to also take like self-defense lessons and learn how to take care of herself in the event that Zaid is not there to save her again. It's around this time that Sibby, if you all will remember in the first book, Sybil, at Satan's affair, the crazy clown girl, the crazy girl who traveled with the traveling circus or the traveling fair, who helped Zaid murder the senators. She took the rap for all of those murders. And obviously, because she's crazy, legit crazy, she was institutionalized instead of sent to jail. Well, here in book 2, she breaks out of the institution and shows up at Parsons Manor. Or, in this case, Zaid brings her back to Parsons Manor after she shows up in the book. She pops up, and Zaid picks her up and brings her back to Parsons Manor temporarily. But that temporarily ends up becoming permanent because Addie ends up taking a liking to her, surprisingly. And she actually ends up living there with them. And she helps Addie with her self-defense by essentially beating the shit out of her every day. Her and her invisible henchmen. So all of these things combined help Addie regain her strength and her physical and mental power. And eventually she does give in to Zaid. And they have their little come to Jesus moment sexually. And then they're fine. There's several scenes where he helps her get over things like the way Xavier cut her up and, you know, things like that. And this is, again, triggers, because all of these things can be triggering to people. So check your trigger warnings. So during all this time, obviously Zaid is trying to track down Claire. Claire has basically moved on to her own private island that's heavily guarded and has not left it. They can't find a way in. Towards the end of the book, they find 2, I think they're like congressmen or lobbyists or something like that are in Claire's pocket that they use to lure her out from her island. They basically kidnap the 2 lobbyists and use them as bait to get her off the island. She ends up coming to them where they get the opportunity to kill her, which they do. And bada bing, bada boom. Claire's dead. Zaid goes on TV and takes credit for killing her, killing Claire, killing Xavier, because apparently Xavier was also a big deal. That takes the heat off of Addie. But he does go on TV and with his hood up, you know, like very anonymous, like, and takes credit for killing Claire and warns everyone else out there who's currently in the child sex trafficking or any kind of sex trafficking ring, sex slave operation, that your days are numbered. Like, I've cut the head off the snake and I'm coming for the rest of you. And so that essentially eliminates anyone being able to come after Addie for any kind of crime or anything like that. So there is a little bit at the end where her mom, Addie's mom, comes to visit with like a male nurse, because a little bit earlier in the book, Claire had tried to kidnap Addie's parents. It was a failed attempt, but in that attempt, Addie's mom got shot. Addie's mom shows up at the end of the book with like a male caretaker type person who is dashingly hot and sinfully delicious. His name is Craven. And when she shows up with Craven and Sibby comes downstairs, the two of them stop dead and look at each other. And she says, "What are you doing here?" And he's like, "Hello, Sybil. What are you doing here?" And it's very apparent that they know each other. From where, we don't know. Shortly after that, they both disappear in the night. Sibby disappears with all of her clothes. Craven disappears with all of his shit. They've both just gone completely off the grid. Zaid is worried and frantic because by this time, both Zaid and Addie are very attached to Sibby. Zaid sees her, I guess, as like a little sister type person. But he's searching for her, and he has Jay searching for her, but she's gone completely to ground. There's no trace of her or Craven. And there's also a little bit at the end in an epilogue where Zaid proposes to Addie, which was very cute and very sweet. And yeah, that's pretty much how the book ends. The end. So for the rating for this book, I would probably give it a solid 8.5. I liked it a lot. I will say I liked book 1 better. I think because I enjoyed the parallel storylines that ran in book 1 of the whole I have a stalker thing, and I'm also trying to solve my great-grandmother's unsolved murder thing. I really enjoyed those two concurrent plot lines that were running. And I feel like that made for a really full-bodied plot, and it was really gripping to me. So I really enjoyed book 1. This one I did like, obviously, and I would recommend it to people. But I will say it was much darker, which doesn't bother me at all because I don't have like triggers when it comes to things like dark triggers. But I felt like, I won't say that I felt like it could have been shorter, because when I say things like that, I feel like it could have been shorter, I sit back realistically and think, what would I have cut out? And I don't think I would have wanted to cut anything out. So I won't say that I feel like it could have been shorter. But there was one thing that hiccuped my brain towards like the second half of the book. And it was the dirty talk thing. Now, it's probably just me. It's probably just like a little quirky hang up that I have. But I love dirty talk. Don't get me wrong. I'm a queen of dirty talk. Give me all the dirty talk, okay? But I feel like there's a time and a place for dirty talk. And it has to be well placed. You know what I'm saying? And there were parts, in my opinion, for me, where whether it be in Zaid's inner monologue or whether it be he said it out loud to her, where it felt like he said things for shock value more than as a thing to like turn you on. And when those scenes would happen, I would immediately like, but aside from that, I don't really have any complaints about the book. I enjoyed the book. I really did like it. I think as a whole, putting the two parts together, I would definitely recommend this series to other people, this duet to other people. If you like dark romance, if you're not easily triggered, if you like stalker romance, yeah. Yeah, I would definitely recommend it to other people. But yeah, for this second book, I would definitely give it a solid 8.5 out of 10. And yeah, I think that's it. I think that's it, kids. We're done. You're welcome. You can go now. You've been waiting, I know. An hour and 20 minutes later. I really thank you guys so much for joining me for another video. Thank you for sticking with me through my tirade at the beginning. And all of my 1 hour's worth of rambling. I really appreciate it. If you enjoyed that, don't know why you would have, but if you did, if you enjoy me and you enjoy my channel, please consider subscribing. I would really appreciate it. If you would like, you can follow me on social media. I will link them all in the description box below, and I'll put a little banner here on the screen for you guys to see. If you are interested in purchasing or checking out some of my bookish merch, I will also put a link to my spring shop in the description box below, and I'll put a little thing here on the screen for you guys to see. And yeah, I think that's it. I really appreciate you guys watching another video and sticking with me, and I will see you in my next one. I love you so much. Bye. Where are you, Christmas? Why can't I find you? Why can't I find you? I should remake that song with where are you, Christmas spirit? Why can't I find you? Because I don't have any. I'm literally a Scrooge. It's when even fucking date is it? It's the middle of December already. I've just put up my Christmas tree. I literally just got a tree. Usually, I'm that annoying person who Thanksgiving, the day after Thanksgiving, or actually sometimes even on Thanksgiving, by Thanksgiving I already have a tree. Is it dead as a doornail by the first week of December? Yes. Is it firewood by the second week of December? Yes. But I like the smell, and it boosts my serotonin. Okay, so I'm that person, but this year, nah, son. Okay, let's get into it, because I just, okay, sure, anyway. To see, somebody wants to meet with you. Rio is one of the original men who took her from the van, or from the car, and fucked her up. Oh, God. Okay. How did I not reference my notes at all, go completely off the top of my head, and still manage to record for an hour and 10 minutes? Candace, how you do that? How you do that? I don't know. All right. Oh, God, my fucking head hurts so bad. My head hurts so bad. Okay. What is wrong with me? What is wrong? I don't know. I don't know. A lot. A lot. My head hurts, for example. All the time. All the time. Ow. Ow. Anyways, okay. You guys are not here to hear me complain. You do a lot, but no. Okay, anyways, gotta go. Love you so much. Bye.